Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I hope you're all safe and healthy out there. This week I want to dig a little bit into a concept called phrasing. And now everybody's favorite part of playing guitar is a good guitar solo, right? So there are basically two aspects to a good solo. There are the notes that you choose, which we covered a little bit of that in the scale videos, and then there's how you play them, and that's what phrasing is all about. And there are infinite ways to play even just one note. But today I'm going to walk you through some of the nuts and bolts of phrasing. So here we go, let's get started. For the purposes of this lesson, we are going to be working in A minor pentatonic. So you're going to take your minor pentatonic shape and you're going to root it on the 5th fret of the low E string. The first trick that I'm going to show you is what's called a hammer-on. So we're going to start with our first finger on the 5th fret of the D string. And then after we pick that, we're going to hammer on, that's why it's called that, with our ring finger onto the 7th fret of the D string, without picking it. Now, the opposite of that is called a pull-off, where you'll have your ring finger on the 7th fret of the D string, and then you'll want to have your first finger on the 5th fret ready to go already. So you're going to pick the 7th fret, and then pull off to the 5th fret. Now this is a bit outside the pentatonic scale, but a good way to practice this kind of thing is if you want to root your first finger on the 5th fret of the low E string, just practice hammering on and pulling off with each finger. And your goal is to maintain the same level of volume no matter what finger you're using. And try that on every string. It's definitely quite a workout, but it's fun and it will pay off sooner than you think, I promise. For this next technique, we're going to stick in the same position, the 5th and 7th fret of the D string. And this one is called sliding, which is pretty self-explanatory. I want you to play the 5th fret on the D string, and then while keeping the pressure down, slide up to the 7th fret. And then back down. Now you can slide from one note to the other just like that, or you can do a real big slide from pretty much nowhere as long as you land on the note that you're targeting. You can do that down or up. They both sound pretty gnarly, to be honest. The last little technique that I'm going to show you today is probably the most difficult because you really have to use your ear for it. You can't just rely on the placement of your fingers, and it's bending the strings. So what I want you to do is place your 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the G string, and place your 1st and 2nd fingers on the 5th and 6th ones behind it. So if you were to play that, it would be... Now, the reason I want you to do that is because you're going to need the support of the strength of these two fingers to help out with this. So what you're going to do is play the 7th fret and push the string upwards toward your face. Now that didn't sound very musical, but a good way to practice this is a whole step bend and a half step bend. And the best way to do it is to play the note that you're shooting for. So a half step would be 1 up above 7, so that would be 8. Play that note, and then go back down to the 7th string and match that note. So you do it something like this. And then the same thing with the whole step bend. You go up to the 9th fret of the G string. And you can do that on all the strings. On the lower 3 strings, you'll probably want to bend downward with gravity on your side. And then on the top two strings, the E and the B, you probably want to bend upwards since there's really no room to bend down. And the G string can really go either way. Some people bend it down, some people bend it up. I personally bend downward as much as I can, just because it's easier when you have gravity on your side. But whatever works for you, try it every way you can. Okay, this is the last technique that I'm going to show you today, and it's kind of the same thing as bending a string. It's called vibrato, and what you're going to do is you can do this on absolutely any note, especially if you want it to ring out. It helps it sound really good. So for example, we're just going to go the 7th fret of the G string, play that, and what you're going to do is you're going to take this first little section of your first finger and you're going to sort of anchor it on the side of the fretboard here so you get some leverage, and then you're just going to bend that note in and out of its natural position. So if you were to combine that with a slide, say, that sounds really, really cool. So that's what phrasing is all about. It's a bunch of tips and tricks that'll help your scales go from sounding like notes to music. And this is honestly just the tip of the iceberg, and I feel like I say that every video. But it's honestly true. I'm constantly learning new things. You never really stop. It's chasing the dangling carrot, you know? So now that you've had a couple ideas about how to spice up your playing a little bit, practice those, and now we'll see what some of those sound like in a musical context, shall we? So that's it for this week's lesson, guys. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. But either way, let me know what you thought in the comments. And if you have any questions, the best place to reach me directly is on Instagram at OGShredBaron. I'll put the link down on the little doobly-doo. But until next week, have fun, guys, and I'll see you soon.